Hey YouTube, how you guys doing today? Kevin here coming back at you. What you have in front of you right here is the KE100 engine that we put a new clutch on. We were waiting for the gasket to come in for the side cover. That, my friends, we have right here. We're going to put the side cover on this today. Want to talk to you guys real quick. Little helpful tip. When you're torquing your bolts, they're torqued to 3.5 foot-pounds. But the thing is, when you're going to torque them, and you got it on there, these little bolts here, it's kind of hard because when you go to torque it, the thing likes to move. So if you guys get a chance to find one of these, I got this one at a yard sale. It's a an oil filter wrench, but it's a rubber one. It's like a what do you call it? You pull the rubber through and it shrinks it down. It's an oil filter wrench, big one. You know, it's called a strap wrench. If you get a chance to use one of these, you can simply put it over the clutch. It expands. Slides over the clutch, then you tighten it up, and then it will allow you to hold the clutch assembly, use the torque wrench and torque it. Okay, this is a little helpful tip for you. You can also do the same thing with a car belt. If you take a car belt and a pair of vice grips, you can put the belt around it, put the vice grips on the belt, and that will also hold it. So they only get torqued to 3.5 foot-pounds, so it's not a whole lot of pressure. You can almost, I would say, it's dangerous to put stuff like a screwdriver in the gear to hold it, because you could chip a gear. I know it's kind of hard because it's only 3.5 foot-pounds, but believe it or not, you can. So try to stay away from putting anything in the what do you call it, in between two gears. Or if you had a shoelace, you stick it at the bottom. I mean, on the top. You stick the shoelace up in here, and that'll jam it. So there's a couple of ideas to hold it for you. Just make sure you reverse it to get it out. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to go over a couple things with you guys, some modifications. Now, a while back, you guys saw the bike. You're going to see it because we're going to put the motor on it. Not today, but, you know, you're going to see the bike. This is the KE100 that I took the lights off of. The directionals, the headlight, the gauges. I made it into a basic dirt bike. Okay? So for that modification, I actually making the bike into like a KD80, but it'll be a 100 and bigger. Alright, so I'm going to rotate the engine and show you guys what I did. So you guys can get an idea, a feel for what I did. Okay, so what I did was this plug right here. I don't know if you can see that. Now I'm going to get that in there. There's no neutral safety light. There's no green light. So it's got a block-off cap right here. This came off of a KD80, and so went the flywheel and the magneto. There is no generator in here. It's just the one for the points ignition, and it's a single wire. Okay? There's no wire going up to here. There's no charge light wire. There's nothing. There's none of that. It's just a dirt bike. So I grabbed another KD80 out of my stockpile to show you what the mag looks like, and it literally is the charge coil for the points and the condenser. That's it. One single wire hookup, and that's it. So real easy, basic, simple system. Nothing fancy. It's got a regular 15-tooth sprocket on it, and that's pretty much what you get. So it's an actual KE100 engine with a plate and mag. This is a 3-magnet for the points ignition, with points ignition from a KD80 and the block-off cover. So it basically makes this thing a simple engine. This is the engine that we had the transmission lockup in. We found the problem: bent shaft, broken gear. We fixed that. We got that all assembled. We got that all corrected. So now we're in the process of putting the rest of this together. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to put this engine together, and I got some cool stuff to show you at the end of the film, at the end of the video. A new tool that I made, and what do you call it there, and how that fuel cap came out from the fuel cap video. So I got a couple of feedbacks on it, a couple of emails on that cap. People like that. So I want to show you guys the actual outcome of it and how it works. You're going to love it. Okay, so what I did was I got a bolt under here, kind of hold this thing up. So let's use the screwdriver to kind of hold it up a little bit off the thing at an angle. I take some assembly lube. Now right here is where your plunger goes. Okay, this is it right here, the plunger that activates the clutch. Just going to take a little assembly lube. Assembly lube's good because it holds it in place, and you don't need a whole lot. Okay, you don't even need to put it all the way on. Just put it on one side, and it sticks it to it. Okay, I'm going to take assembly lube right here, put a dab on that shaft, so it slides through. A dab on this shaft up top here, and I'm going to put a little bit on the 2 O-rings for your intake and your oiler. Let me see if I can get you guys over there a little bit more so you can see that. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, there we go. Boom. So right here you got 2 oil seals. You got your oiler. You got your little tube right here, your little bypass tube for your oiler, and then there's an O-ring. Just kind of want to give it a little bit of oil on that. Slide that back in. Same thing with your seal. What I'm feeling for, making sure there's no cracks or pits or anything like that in there. This right here doesn't really seal much. You're not going to get nothing through it, but it's just basically on there to support the cover. Alright, so now that we got that all squared away, so I got oil on the shaft here, the Kickstarter shaft. Oiler on that shaft right there, that's your oiler drive. This gear right here is what drives your oiler. Make sure your plastic's all the way in. Make sure your spring is all the way on. Everything looks good. Clutch is on, all torqued down. Don't see anything out of whack on that. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Want to see if the plate is evenly spaced. I kind of like to do that. There we go. Yep. Yep. Okay, that's good. Nice and straight. All right. Then, without further ado, the gasket. The gasket goes on. There's supposed to be an alignment pin on this, which is actually stuck in the cover. So if I can find a way to get that out, I will get that out and use it. I can extract that. It's good to have the alignment pins. It makes installation a little easier because you're not fighting with the cover. Alright. So like I said, this is the one with the bad transmission in it. There's an alignment pin right here that goes right here. I'm going to put that in a minute. Take this gasket back off. I don't want to destroy it. When you're tapping that in, you can actually hear the tone change in it. Make sure there's no burrs on it. When it has the tone change, that means you bottomed it out, which is good. And it goes right on there like that, and that holds it up like that, like so. Then the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Alright, what's my cover? Make sure it's clean. On the inside, there's a little plug, like little center plug right there. Make sure that's in there. Everything looks good here on this end. So we're going to put this on like so. See if it goes on. Should go over the intake and through the this cover right here could be a little bit of a pain in the neck to put on. Not like the other covers that they just slide right on. It does slide on if you're using all new stuff, but I'm not using all new stuff. Okay, so let me see if I can find I got the big screwdriver underneath there. Here we go. Okay. Gotta be careful of the gasket. Alright. And I'm sure you guys remember how I showed you guys how to use your template. You take the screws out and you put them back where they came from, off the motor. You're going to set these in there to hold the gasket up in place. Very important you get these gasket pieces in the right spot. Okay. I'm gonna get a couple of them. Let's see. Not 100% sure it's the right screw for up top there. It looks a tad long. I think that screw was put in the wrong spot, to be honest with you. I'll find out. There we go. Move you in a little closer. Give a nice little love tap there. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo. Yep, that's in there. Just pull them right back out of your schematic where you put them, and you can stick them right into place. The rest of this stuff we'll assemble when it's on the bike. We'll put the oiler and stuff in on the bike. We'll put the, the clutch adjuster, the oiler, all that stuff when it's on the bike. We're just trying to get the bike motor together so we can get it on the bike, which we're going to do tomorrow during the day. I have off tomorrow as well, so I figured we'd hang out for a little bit, get that stuff all done. There's no two screws here. These go onto the side cover. It looks to me like this thing's going together pretty nicely. Okay. I always keep my clutch information, the schematics, and those like they go in the folder for the next time. But then again, I do a lot of bikes. So let's see if we can just zap some of this together. Isn't that good? Nice. 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 Nice, okay. This top one right here, I'm not 100% sure about, but we're going to find out. Yeah, that's too long. Comes through the other side. We're going to replace that screw with an actual screw. I think someone put that on there. Because when I took it out, that's the place it was at. But I know it's not the right one. But luckily on my schematic, I have the measurement for that screw. So if that's the only one I have to deal with, I'm good with that. Okay, so I'll move over here. Like that. We got the side cover on. Boom, boom, boom. Go over the tightness of them. Now the screw gun I used has a clutch on it, and that's why you heard the brrr. What it does is it when it gets to a tight spot, it loosens it, goes into neutral, and that right there allows me not to strip out any screws because I don't want to wind them in tight with it. I just wanted to crank them in a little bit. Okay. All right. So I used my big screwdriver, went all the way around them. Got them all tight. Okay, so this engine is ready for installation. You can see I wrote on a bad trend, so I'm going to take that off there now because we fixed that. This one you couldn't even kick over. I got this one up in Vermont. Okay, let's shrink you guys back down if we can. See if I can. Here we go, yep, got you back down, boom. Alright, so let's actually walk over here and I'll show you guys how that tank came out. Put you right up over here. Nice extreme close-up of my expansion chamber. Alright, so here's the tank right here. These are the newer style green ones. And the tank yesterday I modified. I put some red Loctite on the round circle cap so it doesn't move, it can't open it. You know. There was a lock in there. We took the lock mechanism out. And now you can just grab the cap. Like that. That's all there is to it. This is nice and solid. There's no lock. Stick it back on. And tighten it down. That's it. Works great. No lock. Just like my ke100 that I love has the same style, but it's a newer, it's an older tank, so it has a smaller one. These are the ones I like. So I could put that tank on there and not have to worry about a key. I hate that. I hate the keys on lock fuel caps. It's just a pain in the neck. Alright, so, and as you guys know, I'm a crazy guy. I like to make tools, depending upon what I'm working on. And I do a lot of integrity stuff on engines, so I can see how the quality of the engine, and see if the engine's any good. Now, unfortunately, my vacuum gauge, vacuum pump broke, so I have to go to Harbor Freight and grab a new one. But that's okay, because we don't need that right now. So I'm going to show you what I made and what I use. Trying to think of where the piece is. I'll be right back. I have to go in the kitchen and grab that. Alright, I'm back. Okay. So, Husqvarna chainsaws. I used to work as a mechanic doing Husqvarna chainsaw repair, so I have a lot of Husqvarna tools. This is a piston stop, but you can see that hole. It goes up to this nipple here and has this little hose on it. So what you do is you stick that in the spark plug hole. See if you can see that or not. Let me move you guys back here a little bit so you can see what I'm actually doing. There we go. Just kind of like that, okay? So I put the spark plug, you put this in, you snug it down. I make a lot of crazy tools, guys. That's what I do to make my job easier. As you guys know, I do some pretty cool stuff. Okay, so right now we have this, and what we're going to do is we're going to draw a vacuum from it. And the purpose of this is to see how the crankshaft seals are. Head gasket, jug seals, all that type of stuff. Okay? So, here's the tool I made. It's a plug. Just a simple plug. Grind it out. And then where this is going to go, you got a seal here for the exhaust. This is going to fit in here. You have to tap the exhaust in a little bit because it's not opened up yet. These exhaust, whatchamacallit there, seals are a pain in the neck. You know what? I have a better idea. I will be right back. Alright, I grabbed one that was already crushed down. I have to put that in there. So I got a seal here, a gasket. So the gasket goes in first. Then the tool. Okay. Then a clamp, an extra clamp. I keep clamps and stuff like that, exhaust clamps. So you put this over here like this. And then you're going to tighten that down. Okay. That's going to seal off the exhaust. Okay. After the exhaust is sealed off, take the carburetor off. Then you got a cap right here with a clamp. This fits over here like this. And now the engine is completely sealed. Okay? With the exception of the very top. So then I can stick a vacuum pump with a gauge on it into a hose, pump it up, and then see if it drops. Okay? Which is it's a hand pump one. I'm able to see if the pressure, when it holds, you lock it. You know, turn the valve, lock it. There's a little valve on the end, locks it. And then you'll be able to watch the pressure either fall off or, you know, it's going to fall off a little bit, but it should hold, you know, 1 or 2 inch-pounds for, you know, I think it's like anything after 3 minutes, like 1 inch bar per 3 minutes. Then it's acceptable. If it falls right off, then I got a severe leak. And if it holds it, that's great. And then everything is sealed up. And the purpose for this is to tell me if I have bad crankshaft seals, bad jug gasket, bad head gasket, whatever the case may be. But this right here completely seals up the engine portion of the motor. So, just a couple of things that I do. And once I get the vacuum pump, I'm going to do a demo on it and show you. This is how we do chainsaws. I check and see if you need chainsaw crankshaft seals. And I'm doing the same thing with a bike. So, just a cap I have. I cut this kit. This was a big cap that goes over the back of a transmission when you buy a brand new transmission. So I cut that down. You can use other caps. You know, you can find a cap as long as it fits on there snug. This right here is actually a bearing race that goes in the head of the where the handlebars are from a ke100. And what I did was I took a piece of metal, like a plug I had, and I drove it into the center, grinded it off so it's nice and flat. You can see how it was a solid piece. I grinded it off, and then on this side right here, I just used some red Loctite to seal it, make sure there was no leaks, and it works good. And then the top part right here, if you go to husqvarnatools.com, you can order these tools. And that's pretty much it. And this is only like $8. It's not even that expensive. $8 to $10. So you'd be surprised what you guys can do, what you guys can come up with. Now, like I said, I do a lot of pressure testing on chainsaw engines, weed whacker engines, and that sort of thing to find bad seals and leaks. So I figured I'd do the same thing, because this is really just the same thing as a chainsaw engine, just a lot bigger. So I'm able to do that. It helps with the integrity of an engine. When you go look at a bike, if you can pressure test, if you have the ability to pressure test it, do a compression test on it, it'll tell you the quality of the engine. So obviously, the higher the compression, the better the cylinder and rings. You can't do a leak down test on these because it's a 2-stroke. The ports will be open and then you'll lose all your pressure. So you can't do a leak down test on a 2-stroke. But you can do a vacuum test and check your seals and make sure the engine's integrity, it does the same thing. So compression is going to tell you the state of your rings and cylinder. Vacuum test is going to tell you if the whole system is sealed. If the whole system is sealed, you know that the skirts on the piston should be in decent shape because of the fact it's holding a vacuum. And that's pretty much it for that. So we covered some pretty cool stuff. The fuel cap mod, the new tool to pressure test these engines. We got this thing, the KED, which is what I'm calling it, the KED. The ked100 engine. Get it? KD, the 100. We're putting it on the bike, making a big giant KD. So we're going to call this the KDE. And that's how I'm going to label it. So, had a bad trans. We got to get that crap off there. WD-40 breaks up paint, so we'll use that. And then we're going to, do a carburetor for it. Tomorrow we're going to mount it on the bike and get that all squared away and see how she fits. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. And then my KM100, the yellow one I showed you on the last video there, we have over here. Let me move this just along there. For the KM100, my yellow bike. It does not need this, but we're going to do it anyway because we're going to use parts from that bike on the KD. So I have a cylinder right here, a 100cc. We're going to have this bored out 20 over like I did on my ke100 motor. I've got another brand new piston for it. So I got a brand new piston that's 20 over size. That's going to go onto that cylinder for the KD. And then I got the gasket kit right here. The base gasket that goes here is actually under the label. And so that's all for the my yellow KM. We're going to make that an actual 100. And then the other engine I have, we're going to replace the clutch in it, and we're going to take the cylinder and piston off of my KM, and that's going to go into the KD motor that we're building, because we're going to build another KD motor, and take my KD80 and make it into a KD100. Hence I always call them the 300. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all I have for you guys for today. Please subscribe if you have any questions or comments. Thank you for hanging out with me. And tomorrow we'll get this thing bolted down. We'll put the oiler on, the clutch adjustment on there, and the air filter assembly. So we have a lot to do still. But we're going to get the stuff on the bike, and we'll hang the exhaust tomorrow too as well. So we'll hang the exhaust. We'll get the air filter assembly on. We'll get the oiler in, run the tubes, and put the, I'll find a adjuster for this thing. So that's all I got. Thank you guys for hanging out. Please share my page, like my page, and if you have any questions or comments, by all means, please send them my way. Thank you very much.